A new beginning at 78, the garden of second chances. When Harold Sutton turned 78, he didn't expect to feel anything other than tired. Tired of the same park bench, tired of the same silence, tired of watching days pass like clouds, unnoticed and uncelebrated. But life, in its quiet wisdom, had other plans. All it took was a single potted plant. Scene 1, the plant in the window. Harold lived alone in a modest flat on the outskirts of Manchester. His wife, Elsie, had passed away 5 years earlier. His daughter lived in New York, and though she called every Sunday, the distance felt like another planet. One day, while waiting at the pharmacy, Harold noticed an old woman struggling to carry a small plant, a flowering lavender. Without thinking, he helped her across the road. She smiled and said, "Thank you, love. I have too many plants. Would you like this one?" He hesitated. "I don't do plants." She chuckled. "That's all right. This one's easy. It just needs sunlight, a bit of water, and someone who talks kindly to it." Harold took the pot home, still unsure why. Scene 2, a lavender awakening. The plant sat on his windowsill, quietly blooming. Something about it softened the silence of the flat. Days later, Harold looked up lavender care online. Then, he ordered a second plant, then soil, then a small trowel. Within weeks, his windowsill became a tiny garden. And in that garden, Harold began to heal. His morning tea now came with sunlight, soft music, and the scent of lavender. Scene 3, the community garden discovery. One morning, while buying more soil at the local garden center, Harold overheard a man talking about a nearby community garden that needed volunteers. Just someone to water the beds and keep the weeds down. Most of us are in our 70s, anyway. Harold, surprisingly, spoke up. "Where is it?" And just like that, he found himself part of something again. A team, a space, a reason to leave the house. Scene 4, the people who saved each other. The community garden wasn't just soil and plants, it was stories. There was Joyce, 81, who had lost her son and barely spoke until she planted tomatoes. There was Peter, 76, who sang old jazz songs while watering the roses. And there was Harold, who hadn't smiled so much in a decade. They didn't talk about ailments, doctors, or the past. They talked about blossoms, rain, birds, and coffee. It wasn't therapy, but it was healing. Scene 5, letters from New York. One day, Harold's daughter Anna called and said, "Dad, you sound different, happier." Harold smiled. "I think I am." She was shocked and delighted to hear about the garden, the new friends, and how he had even joined a seniors gardening club online. 2 months later, a parcel arrived from New York. Inside was a book, The Beginner's Guide to Beekeeping. A note read, "Let's try this together. I'll start in New York. You try in Manchester." Harold laughed so hard he cried. His daughter had seen him again, not just as Dad, but as Harold. 6. Health, habits, and hope. Harold's doctor noticed improvements, too. His blood sugar was steadier, his heart rate calmer, and his sleep deeper. The doctor said, "What changed?" Harold shrugged. "I just started planting things, and I stopped feeling useless." Purpose did what pills couldn't. 7. The garden of second chances. By the time Harold turned 79, he had a small garden on his balcony, a plot in the community space, and dozens of new friends. He even started a project called Late Bloomers, inviting anyone over 70 to plant just one thing, a single seed, a single pot, a single promise. Life is still growing. People came, from every background, some in wheelchairs, some with grief still heavy in their hearts, but they came, because hope is contagious. Reflective tone, soft piano under Sutton never imagined his life would begin again at 78, but it did. It began with a lavender plant, and grew into a forest of meaning. So if you're 74, 78, 82, and you think your story is over, please hear this. I send single quotes to plant something. Call someone. Say yes to that small, strange invitation, because in the soil of today, there may still bloom your most beautiful chapter.
If you are still watching this video and finding these insights valuable, please comment number 2 below to let me know you are here. And if you have not subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. Your supports helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you.
The Quiet Miracle, a journey beyond 78 * at the age of 74, Margaret Dawson had every reason to slow down. Her knees ached a little more. Mornings started a bit later, and the world often seemed to fast for her gentle pace. She had lived a full life, raised two daughters, supported her husband through cancer, and retired with enough savings to live comfortably in a small cottage near the Cotswolds. But what happened next wasn't part of any retirement plan. It was a quiet miracle, one that began with a letter. The letter that changed everything. Margaret received a handwritten letter on a grey Tuesday morning. The handwriting was unfamiliar, almost trembling with age, but the name at the bottom made her heart skip. James Whittaker, her first love. She hadn't seen or heard from him in 53 years. James had found her through a community records project. He was now 77, a widower, living in Vermont, USA. His letter was simple. He had never forgotten her, and he wondered, was she all right? Margaret read the letter 3 times, her teacup growing cold beside her. Something stirred in her, a sense of being seen, remembered, even cherished after all this time. To the awakening for days, Margaret couldn't get James off her mind. Not just the romance of it, but the reminder that her story wasn't finished yet. She had become so used to quiet routines that she'd forgotten she was still becoming. That at 74, she was still a woman with choices. She sat by the fire that evening and made 3 decisions. She would reply to James. She would finally sign up for the painting class she'd put off for 10 years. She would begin walking every morning, rain or shine. Small changes, yes, but each one whispered a deeper truth. You are not done yet. 3. James and the Atlantic call. Their letters became emails. Emails became long phone calls. James was funny, still curious, and his voice still had the softness she remembered from their teenage days in Oxford. He told her about his late wife, his 2 sons, his dog named Murphy, and the way the Vermont trees turned gold in autumn. He didn't push anything. He simply said, I think about you when I walk. You were my first home. Margaret smiled through tears. At 74, she hadn't expected to fall in love again, not even quietly. For body and spirit in harmony, her walks turned into small hikes. She started noticing birds again. She stopped buying microwave meals and started cooking with fresh herbs, something James said he missed doing since his wife passed. She noticed something curious. Her blood pressure improved. Her hands didn't tremble as much when painting, and sleep came easier at night. It wasn't magic, it was purpose. And purpose is the most powerful medicine after 70.5, the trip of a lifetime. 9 months after that first letter, Margaret flew to Vermont. Her daughters were nervous, but they saw the sparkle in her eyes and didn't stop her. James met her at the airport in a wool coat and a red scarf. He was older, yes, but his eyes were exactly the same. He held out his hand. You haven't changed a bit. Margaret laughed. You need stronger glasses. They walked slowly together to the car, 2 souls wiser and worn, yet full of new pages to write. Asterisk.
If you are still watching this video and finding these valuable insights, please comment number 5 below to let me know you are here. And if you have not subscribed yet, I remanded you subscribed and turn on the bell so you miss any video. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you.
6. The village gathering back in England. Margaret's neighbors noticed she was different. She hosted a weekly tea circle for women over 70, not to gossip, but to dream. They shared goals. One wanted to learn Italian. Another wanted to try yoga. One simply said, I want to laugh more. Margaret became a quiet force in her villager, reminder that hope isn't age bound. 7. Lessons from the quiet miracles. So what did Margaret learn on this journey? Never assume the best years are behind you. Sometimes they start with a letter. Loneliness can be healed. Connection is powerful even over oceans. Purpose rebuilds health. Mind and body respond to joy. Love, at any age, is possible, and often more honest than before. You are still becoming. Until your last breath, you are still unfolding. Margaret and James now spend half the year together in England and half in Vermont. They laugh about politics, garden together, and occasionally dance in the kitchen. Margaret says, we don't rush. Everything we do now is slow, but deep. I think of life now like good teat takes time to steep. If you're 74, or 84, or even 94, please remember, you're not a burden. You're not too late. You are not done. The quiet miracle. It might still be waiting in your next morning walk, your next phone call, or maybe your next letter.
If you are still watching this video and finding these valuable insights, please comment, number 5, below to let me know you are here. And if you have not subscribed, yet I remanded you subscribed and turn on the bell so you miss any video. Your support helps us continue creating good content to inform and inspire you.